our speaker, Dr. Donnie Adams Paramasivam, Senior Lecturers from Department of Educational Management, Planning and Policy, Faculty of Education, Universiti of Malaya. As we know, Universiti of Malaya is top 50 in the world now, right? And he gained his PhD in Educational Leadership from the IEL, actually, Institute of Educational Leadership, at that particular time in 2016. Donnie is very he is a very smart person. That's why he is one of those who was selected under the University of Malaya Bright Spark Scholarship. It was a program to capture those brilliant and bright candidates to undergo this program. And one important success story about Dr. Donnie, he is one of the ICOT, right? You graduated on time, before time, right? You submitted before 3 years. So that Bright Spark scholarships of Universiti Malaysia really work. Universiti Malaya is really work on how these selected candidates were given the opportunity to undergo. And of course, your supervisor, we cannot forget Professor Elma, right? Professor Elma, who was your supervisor, right, Donnie?
Yep.
Yeah. So you were actually very lucky being supervised by world icon. So that's why you really fly high, not only during your PhD but also after that, you know. And of course, there's a lot of awards, recognition that you have received for the past many years. The first time I met Dr. Donnie, my first impression is that very humble person. So it catch my eyes when we were at IEL at Jalan Pantai, Wisma. What Wisma was that? It's
Wisma
at
R&D.
Wisma R&D of UM. So my first impression that Donnie is such a humble person, but he is a knowledge seeker. And time by time, when got to know you as our student, then we realize that you have that potential. And of course, proven after your PhD, you have published so much. And when I go through your long CV, not short CV, your long CV, even this year you have produced about seven scopus, ISI. And that's why I asked you how many more coming. Yeah, but the good news was there. I'm so glad to hear that. And you have produced with the theme books, books and chapters in books, and of course you are very popular in the media, people running out after you, right, Donnie?
Yes,
and of
Prof.
course, yeah. And Donnie, actually, you are special ed specialist, actually, right?
Yep.
Which is quite rare, and especially focusing in educational leadership. So it's very timely in your area, especially as special ed specialists who really involved in educational leadership, that always advise the government, advise the ministry, advise your community, your fraternity about how to lead the entire of the special ed area. And of course, Donnie has been awarded a place under Young Scholarship Leadership Program, ACAP. As we know, ACAP is the Akademi Kepimpinan Pengajian Tinggi, was one of the top leading academy for leadership. So you have undergone all those training. I guess that training really mold you, have blend you into what you are today. And very importantly, in academia, Donnie has authored and reviewed numbers and numerous in publishing. And of course, you are editor-in-chief for the International Online Journal of Educational Leadership, IOGL. This is one of the coming prestigious journal. Yeah. All right. Apart from that, Donnie has also contributed in the administrative work, either at the faculty level and also at the Universiti Malaya level. And of course, there are appointment of or certain tasks that you have been given at national level too, right, Donnie?
Yep.
And I've already addressed on your research, which you have really pumped in so much knowledge, so much contribution. And of course, this is very significant. That's why our topic something to do like an exemplary. So I hope you like it. You like the topic given, title given to you, an exemplary. Yeah. It's not easy to get that recognition, Donnie. And
Thank you,
of
Prof.
course, something that I also follow sometime when I have time to go through the Facebook. You are also very much in depth in knowledge in looking into e-learning, right? And you are also the trainer for EDHEC of Universiti Malaya for blended learning, for flipped classroom, and also on Microsoft Team 365. So you have been a certified trainer. So, wow, I'm so amazed. Our former student has gone really far ahead, and you are going to beat us one day. So we have already discussed on the area that you are going to share as a young dynamic lecturer, academia who are an exemplary to the society of academia. So throughout this 1.5 hour, we and of course we reserve that another 20 to 30 minutes for question and answer, or maybe along the session. If I see any chat, anyone question at our chat box, I will just nicely interrupt your session to put the answers or response from you. And of course, you will. I hope you will share a little bit, or maybe you would like to share on your background, especially your PhD journey, and throughout how you undergo to be one of the I got student under Bright Spark scholarship University of Malaya. And of course, there are always obstacles, there are always hiccups, there's always constraint that you're able to undergo at your age, a very young one, but you're able to fly high. And of course, what is your take-home message, your advice to the young lecturers? I saw there's big numbers coming, and from the name, from the registered or those who have logged in, I saw numbers a lot from UMK. Yeah, thank you so much. A participant from UMK. I saw Donnie, many are the young ones, Donnie, so you better be careful. Say good things, Donnie.
Okay, sure.
And also, of course, I welcome those from outside UMK. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your time. I know you're going to enjoy Dr. Donnie's sharing. And of course, there are times, there are space for the participant to intervene on the chat box, so that along your session they might want to know more further. So Donnie, will you allow if they wanted to ask you question along your session?
Absolutely, most welcome.
Yeah, I think numbers are populating now, Dr. Donnie. Without further ado, Dr. Donnie, the microphone and the floor on the webinar is yours. Welcome to the. Please welcome Dr. Donnie.
Thank you very much, Prof. Suria. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share the little of my journey and the little sharing that I have to everyone this morning. And I am most importantly also thank everyone for spending your precious time this morning to just hear the little that I have to share to all of you. So I'm really looking forward to share a little bit that I have to all of you, and most importantly as well, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, interrupt me in between, ask as you may. And also, most importantly, I also look forward to learning from all of you, because there's always time and there's always opportunity to learn from one another. And I always believe that learning is a two-way journey, right? So before I begin, I would like to share the slides that I have. Please bear with me for a moment while I get this powered up.
Are you used to are you used to on this Google Meet?
Yes, Prof. Suria.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so are you all able to see the slides?
Yeah, good.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much once again to everyone. Welcome to this morning talk. And also thank you once again to Prof. Suria and team at UMK for this opportunity for me to share the little that I have and the little that I can to all of you. Yeah. So the caption that Prof. Suria has put an exemplar was something that awoken me when I first received this title. So I was thinking, all right, so what exactly to share and where to start, and what is important for others to know. So I needed to put my perspective into a normal students' perspective and aspiring students' perspective, as if they want to become an academician, or if they are in a journey of a PhD now, or they're in a journey of doing a master's now, and they have aspirations for the future, they have dreams of their own. So how will they benefit from this talk? So that's why I decided that it's best for me to provide a little bit of best of both worlds, of my journey as a PhD student myself. So what was some of the learning moments, some of the experiences that I encountered that helped me, the skills and the knowledge that I've picked up along the way, and the learning from the challenges and obstacles along the way that has helped me till today and still helping me until today. And also as well as my current journey now as an academician. So there will be a little bit of both worlds. So because I noticed that the audience, and I think quite a number of my students are online as well. So I also thank all my students for joining us as well. So I will provide a little bit of both perspective, and feel free to interrupt me as we go on. Okay. So I think the first thing that I would like to share with all of us this morning is a little bit of reflection. I think it's very important before we start something. Myself, the first thing that I did was I reflected, why am I going to do a PhD? What is the reason that I want to do a PhD? So I think this question sometimes is very innocent and very simple question, but it will carry a lot of weight towards the future. Why do you even start your journey? So whatever pace of life that you are comfortable with, whatever phase of life you are in, for example, maybe you have a high-paying job now, and maybe you have a very happy family now, and maybe you are very comfortable with the life that you have now. So why embark on something new? What is the idea? Why did you even start? So I think this question is something that I would like to hear from few audience, if you don't mind, if you like to share with me, because I will like it to be a we have an interaction kind of dialogue. Yeah. So could you all share with me why did you even start this journey? So Prof. Suria, do we allow them to maybe a few people to unmute their mic and maybe to share? I think about 3 or 4 lucky ones this morning. So if you'd like to volunteer and just share before we proceed, why did you even start your journey? Any of our academicians here, any of our students here would like to start and share? If you happen to be speaking, maybe you can unmute your mic.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Hi, Prof. Suria. Good morning. Hi, Dr. Donnie. So my name is King, and then I'm actually Dr. Donnie's student, master's student.
Oh.
Yes, I would like to share a little bit about why am I pursuing my PhD this end of this year. The reason why I realize a lot of people are doing PhD is because they do not want to work. So that is very upsetting and disappointing to me, which I personally do not think this is a good idea why people should continue their PhD. And some even pursue their PhD because they want to have a research grant and then they want to have allowance. So my reason to continue PhD is because I think Malaysians are running out of, are very lacking in people who are interested in academics. And then not many people want to participate in contributing ideas and knowledge to our country. So that is part of the reason why I'm doing my PhD. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, King, for sharing. Thank you for sharing your thoughts as well. Can I get another person to share as well? Anyone else would like to share?
Hi, Dr. Donnie. Hi, I'm Hafiza daripada YBhg.
Yes, Miss Hafiza.
Yes, actually, I just completed my PhD last year. So the main reason why I did my PhD because of I want to be an academician. So honestly, my journey is not a smooth ride. Yes, I did my PhD in UK, University of Reading. It's very, I thought after I finish my PhD, I will be excellent in doing a research or a grant, writing a grant. However, it's not that in my case. I have, my grant proposal has been rejected so many times. Until recently, I got a very small grant, so 5,000 ringgit grants. I'm very happy, and the problem is now I will start a journey to complete my grant. It might be different from others who not complete their PhD yet. However, the research is still continue after you finish your PhD. All right. I hope my opinion will help to some people here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hafiza, for your sharing. So we have heard two people share their aspirations. So both has an aspiration, one to do a PhD and eventually become an academician. Another has completed their PhD and wanting to be an academician. So thank you for sharing. Can I get another sharing, please?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Gong Kian.
Yeah. Actually, I'm Dr. Donnie's student as well, and I started my journey as trying to do the PhD is because I'm working in a university in China, and in my university there's this kind of new one, I think, course we used to be the teachers college, and not many colleagues of me here in my university with a PhD or doctoral degree. And so we're running a kind of program and to upgrade, and so we were trying to have more colleagues here in the faculty with a PhD, and I'm the vice president for the international center. So the vice president suggested that maybe you can, how to say, to be an example, to try to do it and let them know that it's not as difficult as they think. You should start it and give them some kind of inspiration. And I think I would like to challenge myself as well. So you know that because of the COVID-19, the pandemic, this journey is not as my plan, because I cannot go to the go into the schools to do my field research. It's a special policy during this period. But still, I think I'd like to know more about the world, about how to do research with my help of this precious resources from my supervisors, like Dr. Donnie and Dr. Kenny. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Van Kien. Thank you for joining this morning. And I think I saw a message in the chat. One of the aspirations of Dr. Vilan is to fulfill his dream to serve his family and his community. All right. So thank you very much for your sharing. Yeah. So from this sharing this morning, we have gained some perspective that everyone has some form of ambition. Everyone has some form of interest and to pursue their PhD, to complete their PhD. So we have heard those that wanting to pursue their PhD to be an academician. We have heard those that wanting to pursue their PhD because they are called, they are encouraged to do a PhD by their subordinates, by their superiors in the current workplace. Also, we have heard perspective that is to contribute to the family, is to contribute to the community. So each of us have our own reflection, and we also heard a very interesting point that sometimes it could be something as easy and basic as I'm struggling to get an employment, I finished my master's, or simply as I have nothing much to do at the moment. There is not much career paths opened at the moment. So the best possible way for me to proceed is to do a PhD. So everyone has their own intention. Yeah. So what actually inspired me to eventually start my journey? And for me, it was when I graduated as a degree holder. For me, at that time when I was doing a bachelor degree, I saw a bachelor degree as something, just a qualification for work. Everyone has to do a degree somehow after you finish school, because the society is such that degree is now the benchmark and the minimum that you need to have a place in the society. So that's how I view it. It was a mandatory, it was a compulsory thing rather than something that is a little bit more meaningful personally to me. So I saw it as a platform to just obtain a qualification for work. But throughout that time when I was working about 3 years, there was a constant reflection among me. There must be something a little bit more than just a qualification. There could be something a little bit more than just a piece of paper. What could you do apart from working and contributing to your own company, to your own consultancy? Could you do something a little bit more? So this is where I wanted to do. It's always in me to contribute to the society. I wanted to help the society. And this reflection in me was a constant thing when I finished my degree. How could I contribute to the society? But when you contribute to society, there's many ways of you contributing to the society. But how could you contribute to the society in a slightly larger scale? Not to have an immediate big impact on the society or on the world or something, but how could you have some form of qualification that people will take notice and say that, okay, you are qualified to come and contribute in this aspect? Because I tend to notice that maybe in the society that we are living in, is the qualification plays a major part for you to actually contribute in terms of knowledge sharing to a society. First thing is, are you an expert? First thing is, what is your background? Do you have the necessary experience? So for me, being relatively young at that time, I found it that, okay, perhaps a degree is not sufficient. So maybe it's time to venture into a PhD. And the idea is to contribute back to society in a small scale. And there was a leap. There was a leap. At that time, I was a degree holder. There was a leap from being a degree holder to a PhD. So I don't have a master's qualification. And one of the reasons for that was because I had a very high CGPA during my degree. And I had my own personal aspiration and goals that I wanted to obtain a PhD by the age of 30. And these goals was as early as 15-year-old. When I was a 15-year-old, I had that goal. And that goal is to pursue and obtain a PhD by the age of 30. And due to the working experience that I needed, I noticed that it probably is a little bit impossible now. So somehow I found out at that time that there was an option called fast track, where a bachelor degree with a very high CGPA of at least 3.9 and above is able to pursue a PhD. You skip a master's. So I found that that was an option that is available for me, and I grabbed it with both hands. Okay, but there was, I got an offer for the PhD and all this, but due to that leap, there came its own challenges. So this is a roadmap that I like to show all of you, and you can see the big pin, blue pin there was pinned on success. But there's a path leading towards that success, and we can see that some of the paths leads to failures. We have gone through failures. We have gone through a lot of obstacles. We have gone through a lot of mistakes. So this is the path that I went through, and I'm very sure that all of us could relate to this in our own particular way. So that it was a path of not a smooth path. We can see that even the diagram that was being shown here, the road is not smooth. It's a very curvy and it's a very wavy kind of road, right? So what is the kind of path that I'm talking about is what I will share with you this morning. Yeah. So the first challenge that I encountered that, okay, now it's time to do a PhD, right? And the first thing that came to mind is, what is a topic? For me, is at that time when I thought that if I want to do a topic, it has to be a topic that is sustainable in the long term. You don't want to do a topic that is just for the sake of doing it, or just for the sake of contributing to the gap in knowledge. I wanted to be something that has an element of both, contributing to the gap in knowledge, contributing to society as well. So how could you translate research into impact in the society? How could you use whatever that you have done to impact the society? Or could you do a research for the society? So that is the thing that came into my mind. So at this stage, it was a matter of picking a PhD topic. And as of normal, as a lot of people have encountered, is there's always a constant thinking. What kind of topic, what thing you can do, what is the smart way, what is the easy way? So these are the kind of things that all is running through my mind at that time. So eventually, I decided to pick one topic, and ended up that topic wasn't something that I was passionate about. That topic wasn't something that I was interested about. And that topic that I picked was, to be honest, just a matter of getting the offer letter from the university. I needed an offer letter, so I just picked a topic to get an offer letter. But it's not necessarily a topic that I was interested and passionate about. So as I do a little bit of research on that topic, I noticed that this is not something that fits my personal aspiration, as in I want to contribute to society and I want to do a research that has an impact towards the society. So I decided to change my topic. So when I changed my topic, I actually changed the topic twice. So finding a topic was a real struggle because I just didn't have any interest in my topic. The first topic that I chose was to get the offer letter. The second topic I chose is to help me complete my progress report so that my supervisor will sign me and say that I'm progressing quite well. But actually, I'm not progressing quite well at that time because I just needed a topic to convince my supervisor that I'm actually doing something and it takes a little bit more time. Yeah. So the topic was changed twice. And eventually, what happened was that my topic was actually inspired, believe it or not, my topic was actually inspired by an incident at a supermarket, right? So my PhD topic eventually became, this incident in a supermarket eventually became the topic of my PhD thesis. So what is this incident all about? You know, when we talk about picking a topic, they say that you must read, you must see some documents, read the journals, talk to experts, get a topic, you know, but for me, my topic was inspired by this incident. What is this incident all about? So as I was buying groceries in Tesco, and as I was at the cashier counter checking out and paying for my goods, for my groceries, and I noticed that the opposite counter where another mother and a child was paying for their groceries. The child was about 8 years old to 9 years old, estimation. They were paying for their groceries. Another mother with her child was walking across. You can see a shop called S&P there, for example. They were walking across in front the cashier counter. So when the mother with the child was walking across the shop, I saw the mother grabbing the child, immediately grabbed the child's hand and pointed towards the small girl at the cashier counter. And I heard the words very clearly. The mother told the child, "Do you see this kind of friends in your school? Do you see this friend, this kind of friend?" And she was showing a circular motion around the face. And the girl said, yes, I see this friend. Then the mother told the child, "Don't go near them. Don't go near to this kind of children. Otherwise, your face will be like that." So what does that mean? The child at the cashier was actually a special needs child. The child was a Down syndrome child. And because a Down syndrome child has a very different face feature compared to normal children, so it's quite easy to identify them. They have more or less the same face feature. So that incident triggered me, and I was very alarmed by the incident. I went back and I was thinking, wait a minute, if this is happening in a normal society, in a supermarket, what is actually happening in the school? So are these students able to study together? Are they able to build friendships? So what is actually happening in the school? Because this is the young generation that we are grooming, and as they grow, they will be blended into the society. So what kind of mentality and mindset are they going to have in the society when they eventually grow up, when they are being educated as such in such a young age? So I explored and pursued, and I found that there is this term called inclusive education in special education. Inclusive education means how a children could study together, how a special needs and normal child could study together in a classroom. And through inclusive education, I went through the Malaysian Education Blueprint, which is the policy document in our country, and to see where is Malaysia heading in terms of inclusive education. So all that put together, that started that whole PhD journey. So this was actually my third topic, the third topic that I eventually graduated from, okay? But as before, I told you that I got excited in pursuing a PhD. So I did a title that I was not very excited and passionate of. My intention is just to pursue a PhD in the beginning. So I did submit a proposal on a topic just to get the offer letter, as I inform all of you. So I emailed certain number potential supervisors. I put a blank there. I would like you to guess. Could you guess how many potential supervisors that I emailed using that proposal? And could you just guess? Anyone like to just give a guess? Just give me a number.
Maybe 10.
10 potential supervisors. So you can imagine myself as the cat there. The cat is typing. So I'm very excited at that time. I was just typing, you know, just like sending the proposal to all the supervisors. So I actually emailed 8 potential supervisors. And the best part is all of them rejected my proposal, right? And this is the tip that I found during that time, how to email a professor. So I actually took a time to actually go and find how is the structure and what you should say when you want to engage a potential supervisor. So all of this is there. All these tips was there. I followed the tips exactly as it is, and I emailed. But unfortunately, all of them was rejected. Okay. So what happened next is I decided that, okay, maybe emailing a supervisor is maybe not a good choice, not a good idea. So I decided now to apply directly to the university without the consent of any supervisor, without any supervisor in mind. So I just applied to the university. So the first attempt I did was to apply to the Faculty of Education, UM. And guess what? When I applied, I got rejected. Okay, and I didn't have a reason why it was rejected. Until today, I'm still curious. But the point is, I got rejected for the offer letter. I didn't get an offer letter; it was rejected. So I was wondering why is rejected. What do I do to move forward, and how can I proceed from here? So I decided to find other alternatives within other faculties, other departments, other centers, and I came across this institute called Institute of Educational Leadership at that time. And I thought that, okay, this is something new. What is educational leadership? So I started to read a little bit more about that. And then I applied to this institute. And within 2 weeks, I got the offer letter. And this time, I was successful, right? And I got the offer letter. But when I applied to the Institute of Educational Leadership, this time, I didn't put any supervisors. I just left it blank in that column. And the idea is to let the institute decide which supervisors is going to be appointed for me, right? So I think that this is where fate came into the picture. The institute decided to assign Prof. Alma Harris and Dr. Michelle Jones as my supervisor, which I will talk about them a little bit later on, yeah? So as after getting the offer letter, there was a need to actually focus on my PhD study. I found that perhaps doing research requires a lot of time, and perhaps working at the same time wasn't really a good idea. So I tried applying to this Bright Spark Scholarship to Universiti Malaya at that time, and it's a very highly competitive program. There's so many forms to fill up, and I didn't have the slightest hope or slightest dream to eventually get this scholarship. So I just applied and crossed fingers and prayed and said, okay, God, if it's your intention to give me, then so be it. So I just applied for the Bright Specs program. And the good news is I'm very grateful to Universiti Malaya until today that they gave me this Bright Spark scholarship. So I could afford to quit my job because there was a steady allowance given to me. But at the same time, I hear that there are murmurs and there are a little bit of frustration among the Bright Sparks candidate. They're saying that, oh, now it seems that we are rented researchers, because why? It seems that the university is paying us to produce publication. So one of the requirements for Bright Spark scholarship is you will have to graduate within 3 years with your PhD and publish a minimum of 3 ISI papers. So publish, it cannot be submitted status, it cannot be accepted status, it must be a published status. So 3 papers must be published by the time you graduate in 3 years. Otherwise, you will have to pay back every single cent that you have taken from the scholarship. And to monitor you, you will have to submit a 6 months progress report. Every 6 months you have to submit a progress report. And if you are not making good progress, they will terminate you from the program. So there were a lot of murmurs around the candidates, but I thought that I didn't want to get involved in those form of murmurs. For me, is to just keep focused on what is the positive thing, that I'm grateful that I've got this scholarship to pursue. So moving forward is where I eventually started my first class. This is just an example picture. It's not exactly the real class. It's just a picture that I found in the internet just to give you some impression. So this is my first PhD class that I went to, and I was so excited when I went to my PhD class. I can still remember until today how is the classroom set up, the lighting and the lecture, and all my friends who are sitting down there. Now, when I went to the first class, what happens in the first class, I think all of us know, there is an introduction session, get to know you, what is your name, where you're from, what is your qualification, what is your working experience, what's your background, what's your intention of pursuing a PhD, what topic you have in mind. So there is a form of introduction that happened in the first class. Now, there was an incident that happened in the first class that impacted me quite a lot throughout my PhD journey. And what was the incident about? The incident was the lecturer at that time in the first class, as they were doing all the introduction, it came to my turn. And I introduced that, okay, I'm Donnie Adams, and I just quit my job and I'm interested to do a PhD. And I gave the topic, my first topic at that time. I gave that topic title. And then the lecturer asked, so what's your highest qualification? I didn't introduce about my qualification because I knew that all of them were sitting there had a master's qualification. So I conveniently left that out in the introduction. But the lecturer was good enough and asked, so what is your highest qualification? What master did you do? And I said, oh, I didn't have a master. I didn't pursue a master. It's a fast track program. And I came into a PhD program directly from a bachelor degree. And the lecturer said, you are a fast track student and you are a degree holder wanting to do a PhD. I find that this is impossible. I find that you will never succeed. You will never succeed in this journey. And I strongly disagree with the university giving such an offer letter to a bachelor degree students. How could you even survive in this journey? You have zero knowledge in research. You have zero knowledge in doing a dissertation. The dissertation that you did for your degree is nothing compared to a master degree. So that was the message that was ingrained in my mind. So until today, I could remember that incident. So I went back home very demotivated, but in a way, I still wanted to pursue my studies. So as I reflected on the words of the lecturer, there's some truth to it. He was right. I didn't have any knowledge. So what I had was aspiration. What I had was determination. I didn't have any knowledge. And I had a big lack of it, right? Because I have no knowledge on research. I have no idea how do you write a decent dissertation. And today, if I read back my bachelor degree dissertation, I laugh at it because I don't understand half of maybe 90% of what I actually wrote. Is 90% doesn't make sense. But it's true. I had a lack of knowledge in it. So that was something that was reflecting in me. I needed to do something due to this. I needed to play catch up to my rest of my classmates who has a master's qualification and have knowledge in research. Another thing that was playing in my mind in the first semester was the pressure to start writing articles. So I needed to start immediately writing articles because you needed to submit a progress report to the Bryce Park committee, and they wanted to know what is your progress. So there's a pressure to start writing articles, submitting the progress report, saying that, okay, I wrote this article and it's now under review in some journals and others. So there was a lot of pressure as the PhD classes built. I was sometimes ignored when asked for opinions. When it comes to Q&A, I was not called. My opinion was the very least that was said during the class. And also among my classmates, they kind of not try to be with me because they think that maybe I couldn't contribute much to the assignments and all this. So all these challenges was there, plus this pressure of starting to write the articles, plus the pressure of not knowing exactly what thesis topic to do and all this. For the first two thesis topic was just to get an offer letter. Another one is just to submit the progress report. So there was too much pressure at that time. If you see this picture, this was eventually what I was going through. Is the only thing is you can't see this graphic that is coming out through my hair. But if probably if you will put it through some devices and equipment, that is precisely how I felt and looked like at that moment. There's too many things that was going on at the time, too much pressure. And I decided that, okay, maybe a PhD is not for me. Maybe a PhD is not a good thing for me. So I have came to a decision where I wanted to quit my PhD. So here am I writing like the cat again on the laptop and typing a nice letter saying that I want to quit. And I went to the stationery shop to buy an envelope, and put the letter in. I'm just waiting for the next morning for the sun to rise for me to go and give the letter to my supervisor and to the postgraduate office. Say, okay, I'm done. So the next morning when the sun rises, here am I waking up so early and thinking, okay, this is it, time to end this agony and this miserable journey that I'm in. And as I was driving, okay, there came a reflection to me. And what reflection that came to my mind was this. And this reflection is my school motto, aut compice noli aut confis, which is in Latin. If you translate it in English, it means accomplish or do not begin. Accomplish or do not begin. So this reflection came, my school motto reflected on me during that time, and I immediately stopped the time. I was thinking, wait a minute. So this is something that my school taught me, accomplish or do not begin. I have already begun my journey. So I have to accomplish it. I cannot stop halfway through, right? So I needed to finish this journey because I'm a product of high school Bukit Mertajam. And if I am a product of it, I have to aspire to it and I have to meet its expectation. So I decided, no, I tore the letter and said, that's it. I am going to pursue this, and no matter how difficult it is, I will go through it. If I fail, I will go down trying. So what happened was I decided to go back home and try that. There must be some strategies. How do you successfully complete this PhD? There must be some ways how you complete to achieve success in a PhD. So I think that the first thing that I did was to reflect on my purpose. Why did I even start the PhD in the first place? Why did I even want to do it in the first place? And I think that one thing is to recall your purpose is for me is I wanted to contribute back to society, the little that I can. I wanted to do a research that could impact the society. So if I stop now, how is that meeting the aspiration that I had? How is that contributing to the society? How is that the dream will remain a dream if I don't make it a reality? So I think the first thing that I would like to share to all our students here is maybe reflect on your purpose. If you ever feel like you want to quit, reflect on your purpose. Why are you doing a PhD in the first place? Why do you want to pursue a PhD in the first place? Are you pursuing it for prestige, just to get the doctor title in front of your name, some fanciful calling that people call you Dr. Donnie in the public, people call you Dr. Donnie in the university? Or are you doing because you really have a real interest in research? You want to make a contribution, you want to make an impact, you want to make a difference. Now, for me, the purpose plays a very big role. You have the right purpose, you are on the path to success. If you don't have a right purpose, perhaps you won't be able to achieve success. So please recall what is your purpose. If you have the wrong purpose now, it's okay. Maybe it's time to realign and look back again and reflect again and try to come up with a purpose that is more meaningful to you and to the society. The second tips I'd like to share is have a consistent study and writing time. I think this is a very important thing that I found that it was a success factor for me, is you need to have a consistent hours per day. How many hours do you allocate to read? How many hours do you allocate to write? And if possible, ensure that that hours is consistent. If you say that you have set 11 to 3 as your writing and reading time, then 11 to 3. Why I mentioned 11 to 3, that was actually my study and writing time, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Then I sleep quite late, and because I'm a night owl, so I cannot sleep very early because I just wouldn't sleep. So my writing hour and studying time until today is from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So what is your writing time? Have a consistent study and writing time so that, you know, when you have something that is consistent, all other distractions will be out of place. If you want to go for a wedding, you want to go for a birthday party, you want to go out with your friends, you want to spend your time elsewhere, everything has to make way for your schedule. It's like making an appointment. You have an appointment with someone on a certain day and time. You couldn't touch that appointment. You wouldn't touch because you say, this is what I've committed to. So the same thing as in a PhD study, commit to a consistent study and writing time. All others distraction, all other appointments will have to give way to this, right? So this is something that I suggest to you. Another thing that I would suggest is to develop a writing style. This will take time, right? As I was writing my PhD proposal, I used to submit my proposal to my professor supervisor, supervisor Professor Alma. I will submit my proposal, and I remember very vividly when I submit my proposal, there's a reason why I put a strawberry on that picture. Yeah, there's a strawberry there. Why is the strawberry there? When I submit the proposal to my supervisor, she will check through and she will delete sometimes up to 4 pages. So I was thinking, oh my God, for me to write 1 page itself took me about 1 to 2 hours, and she deleted 4 pages of my thesis. So I was like, oh, there's a lot of things that she has deleted. So why she's deleted? So when she sends me back the proposal, And she said, okay, here, Donnie, here are the comments. So I replied back, I said, hi, Prof. Alma, could you explain to me why is this pages deleted? And she just replied one word in the email, strawberries. So I was thinking, what is strawberries? The second time when I sent my proposal, the same thing. She replied back, why was it deleted? Strawberries. So I was thinking, what is strawberries? So when the next time when I meet her face to face, I asked, hey, Prof, I noticed that you are using this word strawberries when I asked you why my writing is rejected, my pages. Could you explain to me? Then she told me, oh, okay, let me give you a story. I didn't want to upset you, but this is a story that happened in the UK. So she did a research observing a teacher teaching in the classroom. So as the teacher were asking some questions to the student in the classroom and started to teach and all this and give some inputs and knowledge to the students, there were some parts where the students were quiet and listening and writing down notes. And there's some parts when the teacher speaks, the student just says, strawberries, 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 you know. So my supervisor at the time, Prof. Alma, was wondering, what is the strawberry? So when there's a break, she went to the students and she asked, when the teacher teaches something, you often use this word strawberries, strawberries. And the teacher had no clue what they mean, you know. And then the students say, oh, Professor, this is our secret, but we are willing to share with you. But you please don't tell the teacher. So Prof. Alma said, okay, so what is strawberries? Oh, strawberries, we mean rubbish, rubbish. You know, so the teacher is teaching us rubbish. So that's where I knew that whenever she deleted some parts of my thesis or from my articles, when she write the word strawberry, that means it's rubbish. So don't ask any more questions, just change and correct it, right? So as we go on further, I find that there's a need to ask questions. So there's a very nice Chinese proverb here. If you ask a question, you might remain a fool for 5 minutes. But if you don't ask a question, you remain a fool forever. If you don't get the information, you will remain a fool forever. So never be afraid to ask questions. Do you understand what you're reading? So when you read journal articles, some can be very high level form of language, and the way they write could be very high level. So it sometimes can be very difficult for those who are new, or in fact for PhD students to really understand or maybe misinterpret to a certain extent what exactly is the article writing. So I will always encourage to ask questions. It's okay. Yes, it will look bad and you look like maybe you are not knowledgeable enough, or maybe the questions you ask is a little bit silly, but it's okay. Just ask as many questions as you want, and always have the desire to explore new softwares, look through the literature, search in libraries, you know, always have the desire to explore more. And another tip I would like to give is of course, it's not all about studying. You shouldn't build your life all about writing and studying and completing a PhD. We are humans, we are not robots after all. Have some form of hobby. These are some ideas of hobby. I'm sure that all of you have one or two, maybe more hobbies of your own, and maybe some of it is not listed here. But one of my hobby, unsurprisingly, if you may, is reading. I like to read, right? But the strange part is about my reading hobby is, my reading hobby is I like to read journal articles, right? So I know it's not a hobby, it's part of my PhD or what, yeah, but that is my hobby. Whenever I have free time, I read journal articles, right? So that has become my hobby. I read academic books. That has become my hobby. So trying to pick a hobby that complements your study and your focus. Another thing is to always be curious, always keep learning. Always be curious and keep learning. So during that time, I always attended a lot of proposal defense. Some university call it seminar 1, seminar 2, where the candidate defends their proposal. I always attend a lot of proposal defense sessions. I attend a lot of candidature defense sessions. I attend a lot of workshops and seminars. It was a constant learning journey. I always learn something new from all these proposal defense, candidature workshop and seminars. So you can see this boy here hiding behind a table. The best form of learning that time is when you are not the one presenting, somebody else is presenting. So you could hide behind something, knowing that you are not the one being questioned and you are not the one being put on the spot, whereas you are learning from other people's mistakes. And from that mistakes, you learn what is the mistakes that they have done and how could you not repeat those mistakes. So this is something that was continuously done by me. And when you attend proposal defense and candidature defense workshop, Another thing is eventually you will have to present it one day. So one of the important thing in my PhD journey was to look for a role model. So for me, is I had two role models in my PhD journey, and until today, still relevant. Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad was my role model, and President Barack Obama. I love the way they talk, the way they communicate their ideas, the way they convince, their posture, their stand, their intonation, their eye contact with the audience is just mesmerizing. The charisma is there. So I needed to learn from these two leaders. How did they do it? What is the X factor that when they present, others sit up and take notice? When other people present, other people just lay back and just hear, maybe not listen. So I needed to study. So I actually studied their way of speech, their intonation, and I eventually applied it into my own proposal and candidature defense. And that really helped a lot in terms of convincing my examiners that why this proposal should pass that stage of defense. And I think the last tip that the second last tip I can give for PhD student is to respect, to observe and learn. So I had the privilege, as what Prof. Suria mentioned, I was very lucky and I was very blessed that God has given me two white supervisors, those from the United Kingdom, UK. I had two supervisors. It felt that I was studying in a foreign university, but actually I was studying in Malaysia, because the experience and the learning I've got from Dr. Michelle and Prof. Alma Harris in particular, she was a world icon. And when the time I started my PhD, I didn't know she was a world icon. The naive me didn't know that she had such a huge profile and big profile. And here am I innocently trying to present my work. And I was thinking at the end, when I eventually found out that she's a world icon, how did I find out she's a world icon? When I start reading journals, every time it's coming out, Harris, Harris, Harris. So I'm wondering, why is her name always appearing, Harris, Harris, Harris? So when I eventually Google her profile and hear myself, oh my God, so I'm under a world icon, no more playtime, you have to take things serious, it's all business. And I still remember one thing that my supervisor, Prof. Alma Harris, asked me, Donnie, you want to do a PhD now? How long do you want to complete your PhD? That's the first question she asked me. And I was a bit taken aback. So I was thinking, wait, my offer letter states here minimum 4 semesters, maximum 12 semesters. So I can afford to even have up to 8 years. That's what I had in mind. So I told Prof. Alma, I want to finish within 2 years. And then she said, are you very sure you want to finish your PhD in 2 years? I said, yes, I want to finish in 2 years. She said, if you tell me that you want to finish in 2 years, I will make you finish in 2 years. But you have to make sure that you remember what you tell me today, because whatever that I'm going to do to you will ensure that you finish in 2 years, but some of it might not be pleasant experience. I told, okay, Prof, I'm up to the challenge. And eventually that experience of learning from her and from Dr. Michelle came to the viva. And my viva was a very short one. Praise God and thank God. It was only 35 minutes, the viva. I had 20 minutes of presentation and 15 minutes of Q&A from the panel. And one of the reasons for this is because of the knowledge that you have on your work. You have to know your work really, really well. Every single page, every single paragraph, you need to know where to look for the information. So the thesis that I had was all bookmarked. And I even took the opportunity to find what are some of the famous viva questions that will be asked. What is the most common viva questions that was asked? And I presented my presentation to a group of friends during that time and tell them, okay, can you give me some comments? How am I presenting? Is it okay? So my group of friends gave me comment. I went through my slides with my supervisor, and the knowledge and preparation that you have, the knowledge that you have on your thesis eventually got me through, and they knew that I could answer the questions quite well, and eventually got the viva. So you can see this, thesis. So you can see this picture here. There's some people holding some weapons here, and there's you holding your PhD thesis. Yeah, it's just a cartoon illustration, so don't get scared about this. Yeah, it's just meant to be a joke. Yeah, and here you are. Eventually, after going through the whole journey, here am I on the 15th of October, 2016. Thankful and grateful to God, especially to my supervisors, to my family, and also to my friends who have contributed quite a lot. in making sure and ensuring that this success happens, right? And what happens next was the start of a new journey. So this is the journey towards becoming an academician. So now you have a PhD. So it comes to a question, so what? What do you do now? So what? So what is my purpose? So this is the time that I start to reflect back. Okay, now you have a PhD. What is the purpose that you eventually started a PhD? You say that you wanted to contribute to the society. You wanted to do a research that impacts the society. So what happens is I was thinking, okay, now I have a research. How could I put it into practice now? So this is where the start of an academician, the journey I got. I got appointed as a senior lecturer at the Institute of Educational Leadership. This is the Wisma R&D building at University of Malaya. And basically, when we talk about what now, when you get appointment letter, you are very delighted, you're very happy. Okay, now I'm a lecturer, wow. So now I have students under me, wow. So what now? What to do now? So the first thing that I reflected was to really know your job description. You have a job description that is given to you by the university. Study it carefully, know it carefully, look to it carefully, and for me at that time was to do more than the job description states. So I think we know that in any organization and in any companies, if you do more than what is required of you, the probability of your employers and boss being happy with you is very high. So always do more. And the next thing that I did was to benchmark. So here am I being a new academician. I look to senior academicians. I look at the colleagues in my department, the colleagues in my faculty, the colleagues in my institute. What have they done when they first started their careers? So what was the statistics like in terms of publication, in terms of a number of students, in terms of grants? So I looked at and I knew that, okay, this is the benchmark that has been set. Now I need to exceed that benchmark to show that, you are progressing well and you're doing well, and in a way that you are meeting expectations there. If you fall below the benchmark, you might not be meeting expectations. So I wanted to do something more, something above the benchmark. So you have to study all that. Is one thing that I've done. Second thing is to set some yearly targets early. So if you're planning for 2021, the targets should be set by June 2020. And this is some of the targets that I had in mind. How many articles do I plan to publish in 2021? How many grants am I planning to apply? How many books am I planning to publish? And most importantly, please do not forget the students, because no students, we academicians don't exist. The students are there, and we academicians are given a role to nurture and guide them and to teach them and to eventually help them achieve their dreams and inspiration. So please don't forget the students, and you'll be surprised how much the students can play a role towards your success. Many of my publications, if you notice, if you read through later, I can share with you my CV link. Many of my publications is never a single authorship. All my publications is always authored with another person. And the reason that I do that is I wanted to grow together with them. I didn't want to journey alone. I didn't want to hike the mountain alone. I wanted us to hike the mountain together, and together we rejoice. So the students are also happy. They also learn along the way. And one of the targets that I set is also how many community projects that I want to do, because I am a believer of knowledge transfer to the society. You can't just do a research and made it and publish it in a journal article and that's it. And you just hope that somebody reads it and somebody cites it and that's it. And you are comfortable where you are. You have to be on the ground. How do you translate research into society? How do you impact the society so that people know that you are making a difference, right? So along the way, it's very important to build a good professional profile. So there is few things that is already been influencing our culture. Number one is the predatory journals. There is a lot of predatory journals out there nowadays. And most of it requires some form of payment. They want you to pay money. So please be careful and aware about this, about the need to pay to publish. So if you're not sure about what is predatory journals and all this, please read on it. Yeah. Basically, the biggest hint is if there's a need to pay for you to publish, there is a chance that the journal you're publishing is a predatory journal. Okay. Another thing is the publish or perish culture. So when you join a university, for example, like University of Malaya, there is this culture here that is set that there's a need for you to do research. There's a need for you to publish. But how much do you contribute to the culture and not be influenced by the culture? So there's two different things. You contribute or influenced by the culture. If you are influenced by the culture of publication and research, the possibility is you want to do things fast and you want to do things probably the wrong way, by paying to publish, by falling into plagiarism, by putting names into journal articles that you barely contributed in, and the need to publish more and more and more. So are you contributing or are you influenced by the culture? If you're contributing, that means it's something that you really did out of your own hard work. It's something that you did out of your own passion, your own blood, your own sweat, your own time. And you know that when eventually that work is published, is something that you can be proud of. Okay. And another thing is about the need to publish books. So be careful and be aware about self-publishing books. There is a worrying trend that academicians nowadays in Malaysia is slowly self-publishing. So they just have to go and get an ISBN number and the books is published and they said, okay, this is my book. So in a university level, those are not counted for promotion and those not are counted as KPI. It has to be published with a recognized publisher. By the university press, for example, or publishers like Springer, Sage, Emerald, Wiley, and so on, the international publishers. So be very careful and be mindful about that. Another thing is during my early days as an academician and until today is my interest to give workshops. So whenever somebody calls me to give a seminar and workshop, I always grab it with both hands. And the reason why I do this is I find that when you give workshops, you learn a lot from the participants. So you are giving knowledge to them, but through the sharing from them, through their own research and through their questions that they ask, there's actually a lot you can learn from them. And one thing that I've emphasized when I give workshops is the need to network with them. Because for me, is I do not see them as just students. I see them as researchers. These are researchers who are researching their own topic and their own study at this moment. Eventually, they will be you someday, which is a lecturer. And eventually, they will lead a faculty, lead a university. They will be academicians one day. So it's very crucial for you to build networking and to build the relationship with them. Because one day, you might need their help. And one day, they can help you to contribute in many different areas that you can possibly think of. So for me, relationship and knowledge sharing in workshops is very important. Another thing is to learn. This is still continuously until today. I always learn from other people's experience. I am never shy to approach my head of department, my HOD, to approach my dean, to approach any senior academicians and ask them, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And ask them about their aspiration, ask them about their guidance. Most importantly, ask them about their experience, because they are the ones who have gone through this journey and they have reached that stage where they are now. So they have gone through your journey of being a young academician, being a young lecturer. What were the things that they thought that if they could reverse time, how could they do better? If they get given an opportunity to change things at that time, what could they do? So this is kind of questions that I ask them, and this way I learn. So I don't have the experience now in terms of working experience, but when I hear from them, this is the kind of experience that I gain, that I know that is something I could work on for the future. Another thing is to go to conferences. Yes, there's money involved. You have to pay for certain money, but go for conferences that is in your research field. So if you are in educational leadership and management, go to conferences in educational leadership and management. There are many types of conferences out there. Those are general conferences. Some are very specific conferences. General as in social sciences conferences, where it's a multidisciplinary conferences. I wouldn't go for such a conference because there is expertise coming from so many different fields. I will go for conferences that is very niche and specific to your subject matter and expertise, because these are the people who are coming for a conference, they are the experts in the field. So for example, these are some photos that I went to conferences and met, and these are all people that are famous in their own countries when you talk about educational leadership and management. For example, Prof. Philip Hellinger, Prof. Stefan, Prof. Alan Walker, Prof. Bajunit from Malaysia. He always tells me that I might be the next Bajunit. So I just smile and say, thank you, Prof, for that acknowledgement. So all these people are famous in their own work. They are the gurus. They are the scholars, the top scholars in the field in their own countries. So go for education conferences like this, network with them, get to know them. Network is not a matter of just exchanging name cards. When it comes to Chinese New Year, when it comes to Christmas, you send them a greeting card, say, how are you in the middle of COVID? Send them and say, how are you coping? Hope you're well. Give them some updates. Friendship, build friendship. Yeah, so that is something that is very important. Another thing is visibility. For me, it's very important to be visible so that people know that you are not just influence within the classroom, you are an influence outside the classroom. So some people call it boasting. For me, is visibility. Some people might perceive as whatever that you're posting online about certain accomplishment or certain things that you have accomplished. They might say, oh, you're boasting, you're trying to show that you're good. For me, I don't see it that way. There's always two sides of the coin. Some people see it as boasting, so be it. I won't argue with them on that. But some people will see that as a visibility. So for me, it's a form of visibility. When you post your accomplishments, or when you post the little achievements that you have on Facebook and LinkedIn, in ResearchGate, the articles they post, is a form of visibility that people know that you're publishing. People know that you are an expert in this field. They know that you're making progress. And this has a large influence on also in terms of newspaper coverage. So I've produced about 19 newspaper articles to date. So write a lot of newspaper articles, because you have to remember that visibility in terms of networking is not just among the academicians, it's also important to connect to the society. And because of this publication in newspapers, I've been invited to give program and talks to schools. So schools calls me and give talks to the student, give talks to the teachers. So this is something that is very important. And when you give this kind of writing in the media, you are trying to indicate that you are the expert. So now you have two groups of people who could possibly acknowledge you as the expert. You have the academicians within the university, and also you have the general public that acknowledge you and say, yeah, I've seen a lot of this person writing and he or she is an expert. And when you write in newspapers, eventually you will be called to a media. So I was called to share at Wanita Hari Ini on a topic on special education. And how this invitation happened is because they saw newspaper articles that was published on this topic. Yeah. And another thing is to get yourself ingrained in professional memberships. So there's a lot of associations around. So for me, for example, since I have a niche area in special education and specifically educational leadership, so these are the sort of professional memberships that I enroll in. And in this association, they have their own experts, they have their own members in these professional associations. And one of the big things about this is when there are conferences, you get some discount. If they organize the conferences, you get some discount. They have some magazines which they post to you for free. And most importantly, when there's a talk or there's a seminar that has been given to the association, you are among the potential members that could give that talk to whoever who has invited. So when you have association to this, when you have membership to this association, it helps your career immensely, right? And for me, I'm a believer in research for impact. When you have such visibility, when you have visibility in the media, when you have visibility and building relationship in conferences, and when you have professional memberships in place, these are the sort of things that might come your way. You will get invitation to be part of some FRGS, PRGS, interdisciplinary grants, IIRG. You get invitations to be external assessors. That's where you hear the thoughts of other people and contribute your own subject matter knowledge to assess a program. I've been invited a few times to assess some Master of Education Leadership Management in other universities, assess their program and give them some ideas and comments. I've been invited to be Industry Advisory Board, and you get invited to collaborate for international grants. Just recently, I will talk about this international grants later. And also, one of the important things is to copyright your materials. So when you have instrument that you have developed, for example, questionnaire you have developed, copyright it so that they know, anyone who knows when you publish an article, you put the instrument is copyright. You know, in the methodology of articles, you put survey was used. So you put specifically what survey name and you put the copyright icon. And believe me, through that exercise, I have got a lot of people emailing me to use that instrument. And the best part is they know that you are the copyright holder of that instrument. And talking about research grant, these are some of the research grants that I have received. I've received from UNICEF, from British Council, from the Head Foundation, Bank Rakyat, State University of Surabaya, University of Science Malaysia, and ETH Zurich is a research organization in Switzerland. So these are the sort of grants that has come my way, and these grants is always related and very much related to your visibility in the media and your visibility in conferences and networking. So everything is intertwined, everything is interconnected. And one thing we have to understand about grant is these people are going to give you a large amount of money. They want to ensure that the money they give you is in a trustworthy hand. They want to ensure that you can complete the project. They want to ensure that you are a responsible person. So how do they ensure that? Is looking through your CV and also looking through some recommendations from few parties. And they say, yeah, I know this person and this person is a trustworthy person. And through your CV, when you have listed the conferences, the people that you know, the activities that you have done, they know that, and the publications that you have done, then they know that whatever money they're going to give are in good hands. Okay, so I'm coming towards the end now. I've also been a research fellow at the University of Tokyo, Japan, and Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. And this was also partly because of the invitation they gave me through the visibility through media. So they saw that I was doing a lot of research. Each time an article is published, I share to the public so people know that articles are being published. People know that I'm receiving grant in certain areas. So they are following me on LinkedIn, they're following me on ResearchGate, they're following me on Facebook. So you get this kind of a research fellow invitation. So I went there for 2 weeks in Japan. First time in Japan, I never been to Japan all my life. I went to Japan last year, and then Chulalongkorn, I went also for the first time there, and it was a fully sponsored 2-week trip. Everything is given to you. All you got to do is just do some research work, which was agreed to you before you went there. So my final tips to 2 groups of people here. For the PhD students, the word PhD, each of it has its own meaning. For me, P stands for proactive. You have to be somebody who looks ahead, or have a vision ahead, who always plans ahead. And don't be reactive. Reactive as in something happens, then you do something. Try to envision, look ahead, have a vision, be proactive, do something ahead, do something unexpected that people never expected you to do. Be humble along the whole process, because learning is a very humbling process. And I feel that it's not just during the PhD, you have to be humble all your time, because there's always somebody better than you out there. No matter how good you are, there's always somebody better than you out there. And whenever people say that you are good, Dr. Donnie, you are this, Dr. Donnie, you are that, you are great, this, I always remember my roots, what that got me to this stage, what sacrifices that went into place, and how I came to this stage. That will help me to keep me grounded. And the last D for PhD is be determined. You have to be determined, you have to be focused, you have to be goal-oriented, know what is the purpose that you are doing your PhD. And for those who are academicians, I will suggest these 3 traits. Number 1 is you have to be passionate about what you're studying. You have to be passionate about your work. You have to be passionate about your job. You have to be passionate about what you do in a society. Please do not see being an academician as a job. When you see it as a job, then you see it as a 9-to-5 thing. See it as a passion. When you have passion in something, there's always something extra that you want to do. And I put prayer as the center. Of course, God plays a big role in our lives. God says yes and God says no. And whenever you have big ambitions and goals, you can plan everything you want in life, how much you want in life, but when God says no, it's no. So always keep whatever prayer, whatever goals that you have, whatever intentions you have, all the visions and life goals that you have in life, put it into prayer, and God will bless. Hopefully God will bless and listen to your ambitions and aims. And the last thing I would recommend to academician is perseverance. So persevere. Yeah, at the beginning it will be very difficult, and it's a very steep journey. There's a picture of a wheelchair there. So eventually, as you climb up the stairs, you will be able to stand on your 2 feet without any form of support one day, right? So this is the current achievements that I have. I like to share with all of you. The number of publications, the editorial board members and reviews I'm in, editor-in-chief, which very much mostly has been covered and shared by Prof. Suria. And also I'm very gifted and blessed that I have been given the responsibility to supervise students. At this moment, I've graduated about 3 PhD students. Since 2016, I was hired as an academician. 6 master students have successfully completed. And at current ongoing, I have 18 PhD students and 17 master students. So my biggest achievement to date will be receiving the Universiti of Malaya Excellence Award, which was last year. And I'm thankful to the many people that have crossed my path, and to the university itself for recognizing the efforts that I put in. And if those of you who would like to know more, my story was published in the Star newspaper on June 2018, and this story is available online. So if you Google this story, you can find, if you Google this title, you can find my story online. And this story is about my PhD journey, which I've shared with you in detail. Yeah. So my final thing, I'd like to thank all of you. A big thank you. That's the biggest that I could possibly put in a slide. And I thank this very special person, Prof. Suria Baba. She was the former Deputy Director for Institute of Educational Leadership. It's funny how God planned the whole picture of your life. My PhD journey started, and it was a success because of this one person, Professor Alma Harris, which was my supervisor, who played a huge role in guiding me towards who I am today. And the person who brought Professor Alma Harris from the UK to the Institute of Educational Leadership is Prof. Suria Baba. And here, Prof. Suria Baba, here we are today together in one platform, exchanging our expertise. So I thank you, Prof. Suria Baba. We might not have know each other very closely. We may not have worked together very closely, but please be rest assured, you did play a very big role towards the success of my life by bringing the most important person that contributed towards my success. So thank you, everyone. That's why I welcome some Q&A, and over to you, Prof. Suria, also as well.
Donnie, wow, so inspiring. I that's why the first glance that I remember meeting you, you are such a humble person, you know, humble person. At the same time, you have that vision that you wanted to be. And of course, when I left UM at that particular time, you were joining the university, right? The IEL.
Yes. Yes.
So maybe, yeah, we talk a lot about you actually, because you're one of our student of the Bright Spark. UM actually has a very strategic plan for the academician, for the student to excel. That's why we learn a lot what have UM has done to the community. Well, along your speech, along the 2 hours, along the 98 minutes from 10 o'clock, Dr. Donnie, there's a lot of praises, and there's a lot of maybe your student, I guess, your students and participants here keep putting the nice and kind wishes to you. And you did actually struck our heart in what you have done telling about your journey, especially the early parts of your proposal, which I've not experienced that, but there is something that you have gained, the hard part, yeah. But eventually, when you had Alma as your supervisor, and we did talk about that when we knew that a recipient from Bright Spark at that early days. And of course, when I saw you, I said, this one is a knowledge seeker, Prof. Alma, you better take her, better take Donnie as your student. Of course, you are very lucky. Alma was there with you, and of course, we make a great job to supervise our student. And luckily, I have to leave UM at a particular juncture because of we have to move to Kelantan and so forth. Okay. Apart from the kind words and wishes given to you, Dr. Donnie, there's a lot of tips that they have gathered throughout. Especially your presentations are well organized, well structured, and it is like a story that you have addressed. And of course, you did a lot of publication that was inspiring. So maybe could you give a little bit more, and actually the tips other than you have shared just now. What makes you really be a scientific writer in social sciences? What actually makes you to be a scientific writer from the social and humanities? Can you share with us?
When you mean by scientific writing, why I intend to write, Prof. Suria? Do you mean?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I think that for me, is publication is in a way to share your knowledge, because there's only so much that you can do within a classroom. If you're in a classroom, you share to a group of people. But when you publish in journal articles, for example, when you write, so writing is a continuous process. Writing helps you to enhance your skills. And one thing best about writing is the need to read other people's work. So you're not just cocoon in your own world and think that, okay, I'm only going to focus on my writing, or I'm only going to focus on what I know, right? So when the need to write is forces you to read, forces you to look at other perspectives. And most importantly, the more you read, the more humble you become, because you think that, wow, there's so much more to learn. So that is, in a way, motivated me to write and to continue writing and contribute to the field.
Yeah. From your sharing, I admire your hobby, reading. I've never come across a person who loves to read article, journal. This is something very inspiring. See, if you could look at the chat box, everyone's saying that so inspiring. I think they were inspired by your motivation by reading the journal articles. Something that I learned from you today. Okay, there's a question from Prof. Bala. Could you get that chat box? He says, Doctor, you're humble and like to share your knowledge with others. Congratulations. Thank you, Prof. Bala. Okay, my question is how you wanted to motivate your PhD student. How because they write in Malay, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
From social science field. Prof. Bala is from human resource, I suppose. That social science field to publish in Scopus, and I said some of them writing thesis in Malay. What is your tips? Okay.
Okay. For me personally, as an academician, I mentioned during my presentation, I never write alone. I always write with others. And to be more specific, most of my publication is actually written with students, with my students. And one thing about it is, it's not that I do most of the writing, is I teach them how to write, and I teach them what's the structure. article. Yes, there's a lot of mistakes along the way. They will make a lot of mistakes. They will ask a lot of questions, and they will give you some drafts that needs a lot of ways to work on. But it's our responsibility to guide them. So as you guide them, they become good. Their skill becomes sharper, and they become well versed in the publication arena. And they have started to be independent on their own. They can start producing articles. And in the long term, it's a collaboration between you and your students. So that's why I don't really call them students, I call them researchers. And for some students, I always encourage them to network with one another. So I have a research team. I have few research team here, and each of them is specialized in their own areas. One thing is, as an academician, is the need to know your student really well. Nobody is good at everything. So in a journal article, you have some who are good in writing, some are good in analysis, some is good in collecting data. They have all the networking, they have all the access. So know the students, know your students really well, and tap on the strengths and make it a team. Like for me, I know some students who are really good in writing, and I'm never ashamed to tell them, you are a better writer than me. And some of them, they get stunned and they say, hey, doctor, how can you tell that? I say, no, it doesn't mean that I'm a PhD. I'm good at everything. You are a better writer than me. And when it comes to analysis, I don't really like numbers. I can interpret an analysis, I can read, and I can tell you whether it's, what is written is correct. But if you ask me to do an analysis, use PLS, use MOS, use SPSS, I just hate it. In fact, I have not softwares for, I've not touched this software for 2 years now. I barely touch any of these analysis software, because you have students who are very good in this. You just give them to analyze something, they can analyze in seconds and come up with one whole section. I do it also, but it will take a bit longer because I just don't like it. So build a research team. And those who are publishing in Malay language is not really an issue. Let me just give a tips. There's a lot of translation services. So you just have to find somebody who a very trustworthy consultancy that can translate the work into English for you, and run through some experts, and you go through yourself, and to see that this whole structure is there and it's publishable. One of the things for my PhD was, when I had a 300-page document for my PhD thesis, I'm not very good in grammatical. Yeah, I mean, I'm born from an English-speaking family, but my grammatical is hopeless. So I make a lot of grammatical errors. My PhD thesis was by a Form 5 student. So I went back to my school and met my English teacher and said, teacher, can you recommend to me who is the best in English in this class? The top class in the Form 5 SPM. And the teacher said, yeah, I know this girl. So I just hand her 2 pages of my thesis and said, can you please proofread? And she did such a wonderful job in proofreading. I sent her the whole thing. And I just paid her some a little bit amount of money for her work. And these students, basically, they finished everything for their results. They are looking for a job. They are looking for opportunities. So in a way, she has learned to proofread academic thesis along the way. So look at some opportunities around this area, and things will work out fine.
Yeah, good tips, Dr. Donnie. Respect and call them as researcher. I think this is something that we learned from Alma, right? I think you had such a wonderful time being connected to the world icon, and I think that translated and cascaded to you, and this is what you are practicing now. So that was a very great impact, ongoing and world icon that now is already ingrained in you. And when I look through all your publication, and I agree with you. You had numbers of authors writing together, whether you are the first author or you be the second, third author, but all the time there are always more than 3, 4. So that is a good tips, There is comradeship in our fraternity. And something that I like about what you have shared before is about network. Yeah, so network should not also be in the academia fraternity, but also the outside world. People knows your work. and you have done a good job by telling your work to the outside world, especially in your area of educational leaderships and your area in special education. This is something wonderful, and there's a lot. If I browse through the participants today, there are not only students but also there are also supervisors are now doing a supervising of the masters or PhD student. I think all these tips are very important to those young supervisors, you know. Okay, there's another question from Devendran, Dr. Donnie. I'm currently doing my PhD mixed mode, but I'm also working full time as a teacher. Can you please share any tips to divide time between my work and thesis writing? Okay, all to you.
Okay, so I think, thank you, Yuva, for your question. I think that one of the most important thing about doing a PhD and work life is something has to give way, right? So before PhD started, this is your life and you had certain components in it. You had your personal moments, you have your hobby, and then you have your family, and then you have your work. Now a new block of has come into your life, which is called PhD. So something has to give way, something has to be sacrificed to accommodate this new block inside. So I think most of the time that students struggle is when they have the pieces of puzzle together and they don't want to move it. Say, oh, I cannot disturb this, but I want to do my PhD. For me, that is perhaps a little bit difficult to accomplish. One of this block has to sacrifice to accommodate a new block, which is your studies, which is PhD. So those are, I understand that there are some of us who are working and some of us who have family. So some of us has young kids. So when you want to write your thesis, then the children come and, you know, and come and, you know, and you feel so guilty. It's like, oh, I want to spend time with my little young ones, you know, and they are so nice. And that kind of feeling comes in. So have a consistent study time, for example, when your children are sleeping, for example, and in this case of Yuva, for example, have a time slot that you are comfortable with, and be consistent. Try not to have so much of a space in between. So it might take a little bit of time. When my study time was from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. In the beginning, it was difficult. But when you start doing it on a consistent basis, your mind and your body is already programmed that your sleeping time is now 3 a.m. You know, so you have some buffering there. You have some time to accommodate, and you can do your own work. So try to balance and have a consistent writing and study time.
Yeah, I agree absolutely with your tips, with your consistent routine. That is, if I could share, when I did my PhD, I have 5 kids, Donnie.
Wow, Prof.
And they are from 3 years, 4 years, up to 12 years, you know, imagine. So we study together. So
Wow.
that is your tips that similarly that I've gone through. So having children is one thing, and then of course commitment to your family, and of course I absolutely agree with your tips that you need to put priority what actually that you really want to focus on. Okay, I also like to recap many tips that you have shared, Donnie. Membership, that is very important. Yeah, you associate yourself in your own circles, and I'm so happy that you shared pictures of Spillane, Alan Walker, Hellinger. This is all among our fraternity, which is, I think this is important for the young lecturers who started the journey like Hafizah just now, Dr. Hafizah. So you have connection with the UK, European partners. So this is where actually your circle, you need to build the circle. If you are very intense in your research methodology, there are also association like Qualitative Research Malaysia, Mixed Method Association. This is where you could mix around, and the sharing is there. That I really enjoy when you post the big picture, the whole group of your colleague during the conference. Yeah, This is something that very important. And do you say strawberry if your students write?
I think that is a trademark of Prof. Alva. So I do share with them this story. I do share with them, and they all know this story very well.
Oh, so you didn't write strawberries?
I perhaps
Try not.
but I didn't do it that way because I'm not at her level. So I prefer not to do that. She's an icon, a different league of her own.
All right, so you reserve that strawberry for another few more years, right?
A few more years.
Until you reach to that level. Okay. Again, there's a lot of kind wishes and good words from the chat box, Donnie. This session is basically to inspire others who have jumped ourselves into the pool of academia. And people outside might think that an academician is just like a normal teacher teaching and so forth. But the demand today is very high. You know, the demand is very high, and Donnie, you have really put a stone there. You have footed the direction, and seeing your CV was so tremendous. And if I could recap the publication you have done. Yeah, if those who came in later, but we have introduced quite lengthy about your publication. This year itself, you have published about 7 scopus, more than that, and ISI, and you reserve few more paper for next year, right? That is the trick, I know. Yeah, I know that was the trick that Elma always taught us. You know,
Yes.
you need to reserve few for the next year. I know one day you will sort of put the year after for your publication. Like Elma, she has put 2021, which is, we are still in 2020, she has put like 2021. So that is the trick actually. If you have found that particular publication enough for that year to reach your KPI, so it's best to reserve something. I think that is another tips, right?
Yes.
Any question from the participant? I know numbers of you people here. There's a lot from UMK. There's a lot from UMK, I know. Any question from UMK? There are silent people here, but I know they are following you well, Dr. Donnie. All right. You have students from China, aren't you?
Yes, I do.
Among your 17 sorry?
The earlier sharing by one of the participants regarding the purpose of doing a PhD, Mr. Guang Tian, he's from China.
Okay. So currently you are able to have that 17 ongoing, right? 17 ongoing PhD.
18 PhD and 17 masters.
It's very luckily, even though it's this pandemic, the border still closed, but we are connected via online. That's something very positive about it. Compared to those who are on the lab work, field work, clinical, there are some hiccups during this year pandemic. So this is something that we have to look forward, especially communicating through online. And of course, Donnie, you are so advanced in your virtual experts. You are so advanced in your Microsoft team and all these social media. I think that will be no question for your student not to be connected. I think any last advice before we end up to the young supervisors, Donnie. So I saw there's a lot of young supervisors at UMK here now. Any last tips? Yeah.
So I think for those who have just started, the young supervisors, I think that one thing that is quite crucial in this postgraduate and academic world is set expectations. So I think that we need to build the confidence of our students, because we were students once and we know how is the feeling to be a student, and we know the feeling of being at certain corridors, lost at certain corners, and we know the need to be guided. So I think we have to acknowledge our students. We know their strengths and see them as a student, but see them as the researcher. Because I always believe that they are student now, but one day they will have a PhD, and one day they will have a position. And that's where collaboration comes in. That's where relationships come in. So it's very important to set expectations from the students. There is always important to set a consistent working time. Like for me, my students, they know when to reach me. They know that I am most alert and most on my computer from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. So that's the time that they are actually awake and they are emailing me, they are WhatsApping me, their PhD work, their journal article, and they know I will respond because that's the time I'm actually online. And they know that I'm responding a bit slower in other time of the day and active. So you kind of set expectations, and I think the one thing important is also when you supervise students is to also set a consistent time schedule, maybe 2 weeks once to follow up with them. And some of them be quiet, it suddenly turn quiet and no idea what has become of them. So do know the status of your students, and I think it also helps to set expectation for your student when they should do a proposal defense, when they should do candidate defense, when they are expected to finish certain chapters, when there's certain sections of the thesis. So you give them the deadline, because I think as human beings sometimes we are quite comfortable to work with deadlines. If there's no deadline, we feel that we are in control. But when there's deadlines, the person that has set the deadline is in control. So I think, so if you want to move forward and you want to ensure your students graduate on time, setting deadlines is one of the key things.
Yeah, so I think there's a very strong tips, Dr. Donnie. Consistent is very important. So your student or our supervisors able to get in contact with us on that particular period because that is the time that we have more time for them. Okay, and of course we have to tickle them, right? We have to actually knock the door sometime. Yeah, if they are so quiet. Yeah.
One of the first thing that I do is to add them on Facebook. As funny as it seems, one of the first thing I is to add them on Facebook. And when I add them on Facebook, in a way I can spy on them, what they are doing. So when they happen to go for vacation or they go and have a nice trip somewhere and say, oh, we are in some resort, so I will just message them. I say, okay, have a good time. This is and you are supposed to revert by this deadline. And then they were like, oh my God.
The supervisor is spying on me.
So this is in a way they know that they are I'm in touch with them and I know what they are doing. Of course, it's good to have fun also at the same time, but just the gentle reminder, not too much until what's pending.
Yeah, I really agree because I told you earlier that I have 5 kids during my years of my PhD. So I put priority, no balik kampung. I set for Hari Raya and any if any close family who pass away or what. Other than that, because you have your mother-in-law, you have your father-in-law, you have your mom, you have dad. So that's all. Okay, I think that's all the good tips. And again, Dr. Donnie, there's a huge chat there who sends their and convey their words to say thank you for your inspiring sharings, which I agree with them. And of course, it's not easy actually to get our time together. Yeah, and of course, our sharing be very effective, and they pick up all the tips that you have shared. I wish to ask your permission if I could share the recording session to the participant. Are you okay?
Yes. Right. Most welcome to do so.
Yeah, okay. Before we end up, could you all the participants take the opportunity to come out and unmute your camera so that we can have session with our inspirator, with our young, dynamic and exemplary today, Dr. Donnie Adams. Everyone, can you just put on your camera and your big smile.
Yeah.
Ambil gambar Yun. Yun. Ambil gambar. Wow. Hi from China. Hi, Dr. Arif. Yeah, I see. Shukran, you are back. So these are all young people from UMK,
Prof.
you know. Yeah, hi. Are you good? We still wait.
So far, so good.
Good, Dr. Arif. Yeah. And we still waiting for those still here who stoned themselves from as early as 9:50. There's no Donnie. They still keep themselves. Hi, Dr. Arifullah. Good to see you on the virtual. Okay. Can everyone?
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. Dr. Arif is from Indonesia.
Wow. Okay.
Sudirman, careful when you are driving.
Thank you, Prof.
Careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is everyone on the unmute the camera on? Okay. Done. Okay, put your smile. Okay, thank you so much. My biggest thanks to Dr. Donnie. I'm proud that you become such today.
Thank you very much, Donnie.
You became an inspirator to others, and I know that you will spend time to give again and again. And I wish that one day you'll be top of the world. Because you have been guided from the world icon, the Sifu, the guru of leadership of the world. And of course, I'm very proud of your achievement. And my thanks again for your time, Dr. Donnie. I know you're busy with your time schedule for your preparation of your wedding. Congratulations in advance. Okay. And to those who participate here, who have participated, either from UMK, I thank you so much from the UMK lecturers, academician, for young lecturers, everyone. I'm so glad to meet you online. And those from other parts of the world and those from outside of UMK, Donnie's students, UM's PhD student, master student, thank you for your time, for listening from our beloved and our new rising star of Dr. Donnie Adams. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Dr. Donnie.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Take
Dr.
care, everyone.
Bye.
Stay safe, especially in Klang Valley.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof. Suria. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, keep in touch, Prof.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Doctor.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Stay safe. Bye.